individual permission, but I can if you want me to.
No worries. I just started recording, so I guess I'll just go back to the beginning real quick, like floating table, inspiration, um, yeah, my materials. Got them in the makerspace. I started by gluing, like hot gluing these little legs onto the table, just kind of get my dimensions right. So I ended up cutting about 2 inches off of these rails right here, and then I also got some wire that was in the Idea Forge and some paracord from Josh, who runs the makerspace. So then I went and wanted to start building. So I wanted some extra strength. So rather than just drilling through the top board into these, I talked to Josh and he said it would be a good idea to kind of make a curved hole. But to do that, I had to make this jig. So I made it the same diameter of the rods I wanted to drill through. And then as you can see here, I kind of just fit a drill through that hole and drilled this angled hole through. This is like the top or bottom. And I kind of marked out where I wanted the holes to be and then drilled through them, and then it kind of fit real nice. So I just wood glued the rods in there at an angle, and then kind of sanded down the top, so it made it all flush and everything. So once I had them drilled in, so this would like add some extra strength, I wanted to stain them, but before I did that, I got antsy and just kind of wanted to make a first little build. So I used that string and paracord I showed earlier, and built the first little iteration. And then I went to the shop and got this wood stain and kind of went through that process as well. So I built this, and I kind of took it apart and used this pecan stain and got a nice little look to it on the right. And I rebuilt it using that same material that I had before. But I was a little unhappy with the strength. It felt like it was a little too wobbly and stuff. And I felt like it wouldn't hold too much weight. So I ended up going to McGuckins. I spent about $7 on some new paracord and this heavier wire that would hold double the weight. The first one was 10 pounds. This one was 20 pounds. And then I put that in the center to have that to be the strongest point. But I also threaded this steel wire through all the paracord. And in that way I could just kind of loop it around like you see here. I didn't have to tie it in knots, which can get kind of imprecise when trying to keep it, as tensioned as possible. But I also added in these little eye bolt or hook bolt things. So that way I could kind of tie these down as tight as or as taut as I could. And then it would still be a little wobbly, but then once I kind of cranked these up, it added some more additional tension. So now it holds some pretty solid weight, as you can see with the 20-pound weight on top. So it does stay true to that steel wire. But I wasn't sure if it was going to work because all of these are 20-pound wire. And as you can see, the 4 outside ropes pull the tables towards each other, and the center wire pulls them apart from each other. So this one wire in the center is counteracting all 4 of the other ones, along with the weight on top of the table itself. So I was glad that this wire held up and ended up being pretty strong. But yeah, that's it for me. So if you guys have any questions or anything else?
I like how you use 2 different angles on the supports, but then they're still parallel in the middle. I think that's a cool aesthetic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they were originally just flat, so it would have been like kind of angled down here. But yeah, I thought this would be a much better idea. It would look better.
How difficult was it to find the right tension to like get it all balanced out?
I ended up having to do it like a bunch of different times. I thought about doing like the outside ones first, but it ended up being better if I just do the first one. I kind of do like since these wires the wire like doesn't bend too easily. I mean it's easy, but so I end up just like looping it over and kind of just making it one notch. So it was kind of loose, so I got all 4 in place, and then one by one I would kind of crank them down and twist the wire around itself, and then it would do that for each one. I kept a level on the top plate while I did that to make sure it wasn't lopsided or anything in those areas. But yeah, I took a bunch of just trial and error, kind of unwinding these, winding it back down, and then I was glad I put in these bolts so then I could get the additional maybe half-inch of tension there.
How much time did you spend working on this thing?
To build the board, probably about, I think like 2 hours to get to the point where I had the jig made, and then maybe another 2 hours to cut the holes, drill the 4 holes in each corner, and then there's an additional 1 or 2 holes in the top and bottom here where the wire goes through. So maybe about like 4 hours in total to build it, and then maybe another hour just playing around with it to get the string all in place and get it tensioned up.
Do we want to move on to the questions from the artist?
Sure. One thing I had a critique of my own thing was how the top, I kind of like the look of how the top kind of has that little ribbon. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back and do that for the bottom too. I feel like I should have left some extra string down here so I don't have these gross little knots down there. But I don't know. I guess like if anyone thinks it'd be worth it to change that, or maybe any other little stuff I could add in that you guys think might look cool.
Well, I think it looks great just to like start with. I can't believe you found all those objects. It doesn't even look like a found object type thing. And the only thing I would change with it, yeah, you could like clean up the extra slack you have there, and maybe find a way to like move the eye bolts down so it's like more of a like flat tabletop. But that's really the only imperfections I can see.
Sweet. I was also wondering if I could make the center string a little shorter. So then you could kind of see the top of this piece and bottom easier. Because like right now you can kind of look at it horizontally and see it, but there is not too much of a gap between the top and bottom. I could make this like a little bit of a taller table. So another question I thought if I'd toss out there.
I think I definitely agree with that because it sort of looks like that one rod is connected if you're not completely horizontal. But I also think that the longer string or longer piece of wire in the middle adds an interesting contrast because it's so thin compared to the paracords. It's sort of astounding it's still standing and holding 20 pounds.
Yeah, it's magnificent wire right there. It all that's what holds it up. It's all up. So for sure.
If you could do this again, what would you change, or how would you, if you did another iteration, what would you do?
I think I'd make it bigger. To be honest, I kind of want to make like a coffee table or something now. Because this thing it is like, can you guys see my screen as well right now?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, it's this big right now. So it would be nice to have something a little larger, but I think it is a little cool. Like, I think I could toss up on a shelf, toss some books on or something like that. But it would be cool to have a kind of a larger one. But I am happy with how strong it is because of the way I drilled through the board itself. So it does, like, there's no chance that the wood beams are going to break. It's the only thing I have to make sure is strong enough is the wire. But yeah, I think I'll just make it bigger, to be honest.
In this photo, like the last photo you have here, it looks like it's just a little bit tilted. Is that a function of the tension tables, just like how they are, or could you like move it over?
I can mess around with these bolts. So if it is a little uneven on the top, I've been using a level and I can kind of like unscrew this one a little bit and then screw this one up a little bit more, and I can kind of even it out. So it's pretty level at the moment, but I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of give in all these cords. So over time, I'll probably have to retension it and re-level it, just kind of continuously.
Do we want to get some permissioned opinions in before we move on to the next one here?
Yeah, well, they're welcome.
Ben, I have an opinion. could I ask you, or could I tell you?
Go for it.
You could have something you could have also done is like sanded the edges of the table and kind of smoothed it out a bit, or do you like that kind of jagged, rough aesthetic?
Yeah, you mean like down here at the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was there's honestly a pretty gnarly gash in the bottom of this board. So I put that as my top layer so you can't really see it. But yeah, to be honest, I think that would be a good change. I really only sanded the top and bottom where this little protrusion was from the rod. But yeah, I agree. I think I could have sanded the edges a little bit more. That's something I could also do in the future, but I had to apply the stain and everything as well. So not sure if I'll get around to it, but on the next iteration, I definitely would.
I've got an idea for covering up your bolts if you want to hear it.
Yeah, that is another problem, I guess, that I was thinking of.
I would almost, those like little like craft wooden balls,
Yeah, I
like
think I know what you're
maybe
talking about.
drilling a hole through one of those just to pop over the top.
Yeah, totally. To have a little cleaner finish on the top. That
Yeah,
is
and,
one
like,
thing. I
stain it to
didn't want to have
match.
these on the bottom, because they just kind of dig into any surface that's my table sitting on, but I think that'd be a great idea.
Hi. So I've got an opinion, like if you're planning to make it bigger, like if it helps.
Yeah, go for it.
So like this is as perfect as it can be. I loved it, first of all. And like if you're planning to make it bigger, what I would like consider, like if I'm doing something like that myself, is uh remove the edges, because like you see this is, if we remove the edges and make it like give it curves where you are seeing like vertices of these things, it will be much more aesthetically pleasing, because like it's a bigger chunk, right, sitting in a like middle of a room somewhere, so it will be like much more aesthetic. Yeah, that's all.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's a good opinion for sure.
All right, we want to move on to the next presentation.
Let's do it. Thank you guys for all the feedback.